While Schachter and Singer emphasize the role that cognition plays in the emotional experience, there is also some research out there which suggests that cognition does not always precede emotion. And so the first researcher who believes this is a man named Robert Zajonc. That is how his name is pronounced. It looks like it should be Zajonc, but it's not, it's science. And so Robert Zajonc contends that we do have emotional responses outside of cognition. And he points to, as his evidence, the fact that we can be subliminally primed to feel certain things and to engage in certain behaviors outside of our conscious awareness. A study which Zients himself did not perform, but which backs up this finding, has to do with individuals being subliminally flashed two different emotional faces. They were shown either a happy face or an angry face, and then they were given something to drink. And the research shows that the individuals who were flashed the happy face tended to drink more, whereas the individuals who were shown the angry face tended to drink less. This all happened outside of their conscious awareness. They didn't even know that they had seen one of these faces. And so this speaks to the importance of priming, which we've already learned about. And priming demonstrates that there is some sort of emotional recognition going on, even though conscious awareness is not involved. Now, another researcher speaks to this idea that we actually maybe have two different pathways for experiencing emotion. So Joseph LeDoux proposes this dual pathway idea, and he says that there are certain emotional responses which are generated according to a low road pathway, that there's some sort of event which transpires. Our taking in of that event actually bypasses the cortex altogether. So sensory stimulation registered, routed from the thalamus to the amygdala, and we have an emotional response that is triggered without any sort of higher level thinking or cortical engagement involved. This is contrasted with the high road pathway, where you're going to take a little bit more time. Thinking is involved, the cortex is involved, and it's not that immediate reaction. And so there are a couple of different studies which support the existence of this low road, the pathway which just completely bypasses thinking. And it also should bring to mind the research that we talked about back in the sensation and perception chapter, when we learned about blind sight from Ramachandran, and we learned that we process a lot of things in a dual manner. And so even something like vision, we have the low road, which is just feature detection, recognition of things on maybe an unconscious level. And then we have the higher road where we process it and we perceive it. And so one of the studies specifically having to do with emotion and the low road pathway involves, again, priming and presenting subliminal images. And a fear response image is generated and is projected at a subliminal level. And what they found was that when individuals were shown an image which is supposed to engage the fear response, the amygdala actually activated and lit up, as opposed to when they were shown a neutral image and their amygdala didn't respond. In both situations, individuals were not aware of having seen any sort of image, but the ones who were in the fear response condition, their amygdalas actually turned on and were triggered outside of their conscious awareness. However, we still have another side of the debate here. So we go from LeDoux, who is telling us that we do have this low road, which bypasses cognition altogether. We go from Zients, who is pretty much saying the same thing, and we add in someone who's more on the Schachter-Singer side, Lazarus. And so Lazarus says that even if we acknowledge that unconscious processing is happening, this doesn't completely negate the power of cognition. That even in a situation where we're responding almost instantaneously, there's some element of an appraisal happening. Lazarus talks a lot about appraising and appraising the situation. And so when the amygdala is activated, there's some sort of appraisal of that situation as a threat versus a non-threat. So if we look at the two differing ways of viewing emotion from this low road, high road, or if we look at the different researchers, we see that we start with an event. And so there are some researchers who say that event leads to an appraisal, and that appraisal then dictates our emotional response. And so on that side of the issue, we have Lazarus, we have Schachter-Singer theory of emotion. But then on the other side of things, we have this idea that an event is going to trigger an immediate emotional response. That's not to say that there won't also then later be some sort of retroactive labeling going on, but Zajonc and LeDoux are going more on the side of we just have these gut reactions, engagement of the limbic system as opposed to engagement of the cortex. And so these are the two basic controversies surrounding cognition and how cognition is going to apply to emotion.